Hello, everybody. Welcome back to What Women Want, the show where we give men insight into the female experience. I'm here with my wonderful guest today. She's a sex, love, and polyamory coach. Ladies and gentlemen, Emily Summer.
Hi, thank you so much. Nice to be here.
Yeah, thanks for coming. It's wonderful to have you. Let's dive right into this thing. I got some really important questions for you, and you are someone who has deep insight and valuable information about topics that, so we're going to have a lot of fun today. You ready?
Oh, I'm ready. Let's do it.
Okay, awesome. So, first things first, let's dive right the fuck into it. How did you, in a world that pushes monogamy so hard in all the movies and all societies, our parents, et cetera, how did you find out that you were polyamorous in nature?
Yeah, it's a really great question, and I love that we're diving right in. Um, I would have to say, like, the easiest way to answer that is trial and error in relationships that were every style. Trial and error in monogamous relationships, trial and error in polyamorous relationships, dating a lot of people, and experimenting in different relating styles. So I don't really know whether people listening where they are on the path. I don't know.
Pretend we're at the very beginning. Start us from the top. Give us your story and the information along with it.
Okay. You want me to start over?
Oh, no, I just mean like whatever, anything that you say, if there's any chance that they wouldn't know exactly what you're talking about already, go ahead and tell us about it.
It's fine. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Now I need a moment because just give me a moment.
Nice cup.
So, trial and error. Um, I had a monogamous relationship and we were very much in love. We lived together, we were engaged.
Oh,
I
wow.
was about to get married to this person, and something wasn't quite right. And whether that was that it was monogamous or there were many other issues, or I just wasn't ready to get married and I had a lot more self-discovery to embark on. I'll never fully know the answer to that. But what I can say is that it provided valuable research in what it feels like to be in a monogamous relationship.
Hmm.
Shortly after that relationship, I met a lot of polyamorous people. I moved to California from New York. And so just like the volume of these sort of, open-minded, polyamorous, wild Burning Man-esque crowd
The
people
fucking
were just
hippies.
surrounding me. Yeah. And there were plenty of hippies in New York. I grew up in New York City. I already came from a very liberal, open-minded background. But then you get out to the West Coast and it's like, this is really just the air you breathe. This is the
Hmm.
water we all
Hmm.
swim in, right? And I was surrounded by all these polyamorous people. It started to appear to be and become just like an option amongst many other options. It was like lots of people are doing this. Um, and and then I got into ISTA trainings and
Yes, definitely tell us about ISTA because when you first told me about this, you were so excited. You were like all lit up. You're like, fuck
totally.
business coaching. Let's talk about ISTA today. I was like, cool, let's get
Totally.
into it.
Yeah.
So
And
tell
I'm
us about this
still
because people watching this probably have no idea either.
absolutely, yeah, still excited about ISTA, still involved in their trainings, going to be assisting one of their trainings coming up in San Diego. And yeah, they teach spirituality, sexuality, and shamanism. And at ISTA, I had some really profound sexual awakenings and a
Hell
lot of
yeah.
really, really deep personal work around my sexuality. And really, what they teach and what they guide more than anything is finding your truth,
Hmm.
right? It's a place where you get to explore yourself as a sexual being and a spiritual being. And they're really inviting you to find what is true for you. And in taking training after training with them, and also going home and integrating and being with community and dating people and living my life, I started to experience my truth as one that was more polyamorous in nature. I then had a series of other explorations in poly relationships. I dated someone for 6 months who, we attempted polyamory. And that also didn't work.
Hmm.
So then, of course, I'm thinking, oh, maybe I am monogamous. Maybe I should go back. And then ultimately, I met my now primary partner, and we created an open relationship. He turned out to be somebody who was really experienced in polyamory. He had been married in a poly marriage for many years before. He had had several polyamorous relationships. He'd read all the books. We can talk about what some of the books are. I can name some of them at some point. And this was really my first experience of like, okay, this is what it feels like to be in an open relationship with someone that's really good at it, and with two people that can really do it well. And we've been together for a year and a half now, and it's just been super functional, super
That's
healthy,
amazing.
and super free and exciting, and really opening in many ways.
Congratulations. That's so awesome. And we're gonna have to get into the specifics of polyamory because I started my first polyamorous relationship. I was inspired by you. You were like, "Oh my
Mhm.
God, like I had been feeling like this, now I feel like this, and you got to try this because it's so liberating." So, tell us a little bit about that moment. Like, how were you feeling before that had you kind of like, I'm not sure this is it. And then you just talked about you feel a lot more
Right.
open now. Like,
Yeah.
what was that transition like?
Yeah, this is really important because what you see all the time, what you hear about all the time, maybe what you've experienced, Kevin, or what someone listening has, is that people sort of dip their toes into open relating. And the moment somebody gets jealous or gets possessive or has their attachment system activated in some way, it's like, this isn't it. I can't do this. It's too hard. It's too triggering. I'm out. I'm back to monogamy.
Hmm.
And
Exactly.
in many ways, I can relate. The person I explored a primary open relationship with before my current partner, you know, a few months in, we ran into some challenges. I wasn't feeling safe. I wasn't feeling totally secure. I didn't feel totally secure or safe in being this person's primary, and knowing that, that if this person was relating with other people, that they weren't a threat to me in some way. My anxious attachment system was activated. Maybe, but potentially some of his avoidant attachment stuff came up. And we were struggling to agree on what are the fundamental agreements of this
Hmm.
open relationship
What's
that keep
okay? Yeah.
everyone feeling really safe.
Totally. If you wouldn't mind sharing, like, what are some of the fundamental agreements in your current relationship that make you feel safe? Because I feel like a cornerstone of what I do personally is teach men the importance of safety with women. I always say you can't have attraction if you don't have connection. You can't have connection if you don't have comfort. You can't have comfort if you don't have safety. And so you got a
Yeah.
world full of men that are like, I just want to fuck. I need them to be attracted. It's like, bro, you gotta take it step by step. So
Mhm.
can you talk to us about how guys can facilitate safety for
Mhm.
women, whether it's polyamory? I mean, let's talk about in a
Yeah.
polyamorous relationship. Yeah.
Yeah, beautiful. The biggest things that come to mind when I think about safety, an obvious one is trust,
Yeah.
building trust with someone. And a lot of what builds trust with someone is going slow,
Mm,
slowing down. And so it connects so well to what you just said, like, yo, bro, slow down. Like you gotta build trust, right? And so one of the surest ways to lose a woman's trust and to not have her feel safe is coming in way too hot and being aggressive with your attraction toward her. It's an interesting one, and there's definitely like a fine balance here,
mhm.
because you also don't want to come in too cold. You also don't want to not like not declare your feelings for her, or else she won't know and she won't feel special. But there really is a sweet spot between coming in cold, and it's like come in, lukewarm, or just like a little hotter
And
than.
then turn the temperature up bit by bit instead of just ah.
Yeah, yeah. And then like going a bit deeper, building trust, it's like some people that I studied with recently, they say like move at the pace of trust, right?
Mm,
So it's like it has a lot to do with attunement. It has a lot to
yes.
do with paying attention to the person and the way their body is responding and how open they feel or how closed they feel. And really slowing down, moving at the pace of trust, taking your time to get to know someone, being present with them, being present with their nervous system, attuning to their nervous system. And, if somebody has no background in something like somatics or any sort of like embodiment practice, then that's actually a really good place to start
Hmm.
because in order to know how to attune to other people's bodies and other people's nervous systems, you actually have to start with the foundation of knowing how to attune to your own body and your own nervous system. So that looks like, going to yoga, martial arts, even just like having a regular practice of moving your body in any way, dancing, the gym, ideally something that combines the body and the mind.
Hmm.
So
The
anything where
breath.
you're really practicing presence while being with your body and moving your body.
Absolutely. That's so powerful. It's amazing how frequently movement comes up on this show and how many
Mm,
women are like, I could not see myself dating a man who does not have a movement practice. It's not about
mm,
the six pack. It's not about the supercar. It's about a dude who has ambition and moves his fucking body. For sure, for sure.
mhm, mhm,
So we touched on this briefly a minute ago, and we talked about it before I hit record and we started this show. Emily and I are catching up because we go way back. She's like a big sister to me. She's been my hero for so long. So again, thank you for being here.
mm.
Um, was there a moment, right? I was talking about your profile photo on Facebook. I was like, what a lovely photo. You look so powerful. And she was like, that might have been the moment. Was there a moment when you felt like you had reached this embodiment of this person that you really are when you found yourself sexually?
Should I show if I hit video, I think it'll actually show the photo right now. Is that, do you see it?
I just see myself now, but
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
I'll post the photo on the video or something. But we'll go
Okay.
like
So I don't know if that worked, because it's also my Zoom thumbnail.
where are you? Right here.
Yeah.
This photo right here. Look at that stance. And
Yeah.
then you got the twirl with the dress, you got the some sort of paint on your face. Everybody's
Right.
standing around just cheering you on. Yeah, tell it,
Right.
it was this the moment? This is the moment that you found it?
There were so
I
many
love this
moments,
one.
and I think it's fun to use the visual as an example of one of the moments where I found myself sexually. And I think this is a really interesting visual to look at that because what you see is maybe not the most obvious expression of sexuality in the sense of like when you think like, oh, I'm going to see a photo of a woman and her sexuality. Maybe you expect to see something a little bit more suggestive, something a little bit
Titties.
more sensual. And interestingly, this image, it almost has like an erotic innocence to it, right?
Hmm.
Um, I've got like pigtails in my hair and I'm kind of like dressed up like a princess and I'm sort of prancing and I'm dancing in the center of people. And there's something that this image says about the journey of sexual awakening, and what it is being seen. Being seen. So, and this is so much of the work that ISTA does, especially in their level 1 program, um, is really giving you the opportunity to practice being seen. And there's so many levels of being seen, right? There's like standing in the center of a group of people and dancing, which like for most of us, just the thought of that is like, oh my God,
Terrifying.
no, that's
That's
like
scary, yeah.
mortifying, right? And again, it comes back to trust, right? Part of
Yeah.
the reason I was able
Yeah.
to be in the middle of this big group of people dancing and expressing myself. And like, you can only see a sliver of my face, but you can kind of see like, I'm joyful.
Oh, you
I'm
could see that. You could see that smile from
right? I'm
from over the
loving
shoulder.
being in the center. I'm not self-conscious, I'm not awkward. I am like, this is my moment. And the reason I'm able to be seen in that way is this is probably like day 5 or 6 out of 7 days with this group of people. We've been building trust all week, right? We've been practicing being seen. And there's an element of optional nudity in the training. There's the opportunity to like be truly seen, to be seen in your nakedness, not just physically, but emotionally and spiritually, like getting up in front of people and sharing a bit of who you are, sharing a bit of your story, working through some of the layers that we hold in the body and around our psyche, having to do with sexuality, which is something that was a journey from the very day you were born. You were literally created by sex. You literally came out
Facts.
of a vagina, and every
Facts.
moment of your life since then has actually been a journey of eroticism and sexuality, your puberty, every time you've had a crush on someone, or every time you've found yourself moved by the beauty of nature. These are all erotic moments. This life is an erotic journey. And so yes, this image does capture one of many moments in which I found myself as a sexual being. And so much of that journey is actually simply about learning to be seen.
Yeah, hell yeah. That's so beautiful. Let's break that down. I couldn't agree with you more. I remember it was probably like 10 years ago. I was reading Taoist texts that talked about the same thing, or maybe they were tantric texts that talked about all energy is sexual energy. And I
Mm,
thought about it and I was like, these motherfuckers are onto something. So I
mm,
completely agree with you. Let's, you said the most beautiful thing. Safety comes down to trust, trust comes down to being seen, right?
mm.
Fucking love that. Never heard it put so succinctly. Can you talk to us about ways in which we can be seen, give ourselves permission to be seen, allow ourselves to be seen, practice being seen, maybe if we're not quite ready to go to one of these retreats? Are there
Yeah.
exercises that men could do in the mirror with their friends, um, maybe from the comfort of their home that can help them get in touch with themselves so that
Mm,
they can create more trust within
mm.
themselves and then share that with the women with whom
Yeah.
they're courting?
Yeah. So I don't know if I have something like super concrete, but what comes to mind is like there's part of being seen, it's like being vulnerable.
Hmm.
Um, so practicing a little bit of revealing yourself when you meet people, noticing as you go out and meet people, really like starting to track in yourself. Do I put on a facade? Do I hold back or hide certain aspects of myself because I assume that people would reject me if they knew this about me? Because it's often the opposite. It's often the
Totally.
case that the more you reveal about yourself, the more somebody can see what a beautiful, imperfect, relatable human you are. And that's what really makes people fall in love with you is your relatability. Um, Another thing that comes to mind is tracking your the way you dress. And if you're kind of like stuck in patterns of like always kind of wearing the same few things, and ask yourself, like, what, yeah, what would it be like to change it up? Like, could you be so bold as to wear that like bright colored shirt that you don't normally wear, just as an experiment? Like, put it on, go out in public, like walk around, see how it feels to be seen,
Hmm.
expressing yourself in a way that is a little bit outside of your typical routine.
Hell yeah. And so it's like for guys who think in terms of, logical, tangible steps, you got to practice the science of vulnerability. You got to experiment with being seen. Maybe there's not like one concrete way to just do it overnight, but you just got to continually push your own boundary so that you can
Mm,
expand your own comfort zone, so that you can bring
mm,
people into a place of comfort when they're around you.
yeah.
I
Hmm.
love it. So it's crazy too because like the language that we're speaking right now, like the rhetoric that we're using, it affords a deeper level of freedom to be able to talk about this kind of stuff and to have this lexicon, to have these words at our disposal. Like, what would you say for people who, like, how can people shift their language and communication to be more open with themselves? Like, how can people talk more openly about subjects like sex, love, relationships, all this stuff that's so important to people, but they often feel like,
Mm.
ah,
Yeah.
I can't talk about that.
Yeah, yeah. So I want to reference a beautiful place I just visited because what I'm going to share is something that I learned there. So it comes from a place called Tamera in Portugal, and they are a intentional community and eco village and peace research center. And the people there practice free love as a lifestyle. They don't actually use the term polyamory there. They would call what they do free love, but it is a more open relating style. And what they taught me is so succinct and beautiful and easy to take with you. It's three T's: trust, truth, and transparency. Trust, truth, and transparency. And so these are three T's that are crucial for living harmoniously in community with other people. These are also three T's that can also be incredibly supportive to any open relationship. And I think they really can be incredibly supportive to any and all relationships, whether it's like going out and meeting women or building intimacy in your current relationship. So trust, again, we've covered it.
Yeah, so we
You
talked
need,
about trust. I mean,
yeah, we've talked about
please
trust.
feel free to talk about it more if you want. We touched on truth a little bit. Let's dive
Yeah,
deeper into that and then talk about transparent
perfect.
communication.
Yeah. Yeah. So truth is simple. Tell the truth. And
You hear
it's
that,
like
guys?
it
Stop
sounds
overcomplicating this.
it sounds so obvious, and yet we have a lifetime of conditioning that has taught us to lie, to package things in falsities and niceties, to hold back the truth, as like a sort of way to protect other people from feeling what they might feel. And of course, we want to um, be polite, be kind. But we live in a culture that lies incessantly. If you really tune in, if you really start to track it in yourself and in your relationships, and you look around, you listen around, you start to see people lie constantly. And a really great metaphor for this that I heard is like we're all on a ship, right? We're steering a ship together. We're steering a ship. The whole crew needs to pitch in to steer the ship. We're steering it through a storm at times. And if we lie to each other, everyone sinks, right? If you lie to the people you're steering a ship with, the people you have relationships with, the people that you are living life with, everyone sinks. And so tell the truth. Say what you actually feel, especially if you're leaning into open relating, polyamory. This becomes incredibly crucial
Paramount.
to say the truth about what you feel, tell the truth about your attractions to other people, tell the truth about the way you're feeling towards your partner. Don't lie. And then transparency goes with that, but
Mhm.
they're not exactly the same thing. Transparency is like it almost like takes truth to the next level. It's like it's like how would I describe the difference? It in community, it's like making sure everyone in community knows what they need to know
Mhm.
so that they can be aware of other relationships that are taking place. Really important in polyamory when there's multiple relationships happening and there needs to be trust between everyone involved. It's not just telling the truth to your primary partner, it's like a spirit of transparency so that everyone in the constellation, everyone in the community is aware. They don't need to know every single detail, every single personal detail of
They need to know what they need to know.
Exactly. And it's often the things that they need to know that we're withholding that we need to bring transparency to.
And that breaks trust. So it's almost like truth is like more of like a binary, right? Did this happen or did it not happen? Did you tell me about it or did you not tell me about it? But transparency is more of a ubiquitous radial kind of spectrum that's like,
Mm,
how in the know am I going to allow you to be, i.e., how authentic am I going to give myself permission to be? And the
sure.
more that you can be on that side of truth, and
Sure.
the deeper that you can go with that transparency, the more trust that's created throughout the entire system, whether it's a community or a
Yeah.
one-to-one relationship or
They
whatever, whatever.
they all complement each other really well. And when you're doing one of them, the other two seem to work better. Yeah.
Hell yeah. Three T's, baby. Trust, truth, transparency. And
Mm,
again, like a big theme of this podcast is like, it's not about game. Every dude on the internet's like, what's the fucking line? What do I say
mm,
to make her like me? Like all this kind of stuff. It's like, you got to
mhm,
get yourself together. You got to get your
mhm.
communication together. You got to get your lifestyle together. Truth, trust, transparency are going to take you much farther than any line you could ever possibly memorize and deploy upon a woman.
I really agree. And I think that now more than ever, as so many human beings, men, women, people of all genders, are on a healing journey,
Mhm.
people are really like addressing their trauma, people are healing their
The
attachment
big
styles.
T.
I think women are healing the way they feel about men, and men are healing the way they feel about women. And as we do that, I think now more than ever, women are not interested in any kind of pickup culture. They don't want to be picked up. That stuff has deep psychology, and unfortunately, some of it kind of works. It maybe works to get them in bed at times, but ultimately, the kind of woman that you really are going to be interested in a long-term relationship, somebody that's going to be really healthy for you to relate with long term. She's going to be someone that is interested in meeting someone who feels really genuine, really sincere, somebody that she can really trust, someone who tells the truth, and that's just so much more nourishing long term than like one night stand, and like what one night stand is not nourishing to anyone involved.
Hell yeah. What's one thing that you wish men knew, like modern men knew about women?
One thing that I wish modern men knew about women. That's a great question. Hmm. Give me a moment.
Yeah, I told you
Hmm.
that the best ones come right off top.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love to teach men that women are like fingerprints. There are no two alike. They are all totally unique. And this is really actually sex advice amongst other, like a wider context. It really is sexual advice. If you think you figured out how to please a woman in bed because of what happened with one, the next time you're with a new woman, like total beginner's mind, pretend you've never learned a thing before, because what works to please one woman's body is going to be completely different on another woman's body. And we might as well go ahead and generalize this into like her emotions and caring for her and loving for her. Sure, there might be some patterns we can find, some trends, but definitely when it comes to sex, I'll just go back to that. Um, Leave everything you thought you knew at the door and instead be curious, ask a lot of questions, and really listen, and learn her as if she's totally brand new because she is.
Fucking phenomenal advice. Did I tell you that was like the point of this podcast? Did I give that preface? I'm gonna, if you're cool with that, I'm gonna steal that in the future because I would always say like the point of this podcast is to show men that every woman is different, but there's common themes such as
Mm,
safety and respect and honesty
yes.
that like are gonna help with every relationship. But that was fucking gold. Thank you for that.
Mhm.
Um, you open to talking about your own relationship?
Sure.
Perfect. Let's get into it.
Yeah.
What were some of the green lights in the
Mm,
beginning that you were like, yeah,
yeah.
fucking this guy?
Awesome. Yeah. Love that. Yeah, so I was pretty fresh out of another relationship. I'll start with a little bit of context because it is relevant here.
It'd be like that for gorgeous women. They're always in relationships, guys.
And
Don't
thank you.
don't wait. Don't sleep.
They get snatched up, yeah, even if they're poly, apparently.
Haley was dating multiple people when we met. And like
Mhm.
we were both dating other
Yeah.
people, and then it was like, anyway, sorry to interrupt.
Totally. It's a
Go for it.
thing. Yeah, but I was freshly out of relationship with somebody else, and I was feeling pretty sensitive to any like lack of presence. I was feeling sensitive to any sort of like wandering eye or anything that would like give me a feeling of doubt that I'm the priority or these were concerns of mine at the time, and I really was seeking primary ship in polyamory, which not everyone is. Some people do poly as relationship anarchist, non-hierarchical.
Tell us about like we can get into those other definitions, but break down at least the one that you're talking about in terms of
Okay.
primary.
Yeah. Yeah. So at the time and to this day, I was practicing a polyamorous lifestyle, and there's many types of polyamory, and the kind of polyamory that I practice is often referred to as hierarchical polyamory, meaning there is a hierarchy of the partners in your life, and there is a primary partner. You're either searching for a primary partner or you're in a primary partnership, meaning this is usually the person that you might live with this person. People often call that nesting.
Hmm.
Some people call it you anchor with this person. It's the person that you really kind of orient in life with, the person you spend the majority of your time with. They might be the person that you have children with, or animals with, or real estate with, or
Mhm,
maybe
mhm.
they're the person that you travel to
Start
visit
a
each other's
business with,
families with.
maybe.
What's that?
I said start a business with, maybe.
Yeah, could be. But in essence, they are the person that you prioritize primarily in loverships and romantic connections. And
Perfect. So
so,
you were looking for a primary, as in you weren't trying to just be here, there, and everywhere with everybody. You wanted your
yeah,
freedom, you wanted your independence, but you wanted that rock.
yeah, I was open. I was pretty fresh out of another one, so I didn't necessarily expect to enter another primary ship as quickly as I did. But yeah, I was open and I was like, ultimately, I want that in life. And I met Michael Ellsberg is my partner's name, and he is an author and speaker and more recently a fantastic stand-up comedian.
Oh, hell yeah.
Um,
I didn't even know that.
we're actually both doing stand-up now. I'm working on my first routine.
Okay, we'll talk about that later.
I know I haven't been that funny on this interview, but I'm actually funny in my stand-up.
That's what funny people say.
Right. So I met Michael and some of the green lights, yeah, almost instantly, it was a quality of presence.
Hmm.
And this is key. I really want men to hear this. It was a presence. He asked me a lot of questions. He really listened. He wanted to understand what I was saying. He wanted to get to know me. He found me interesting and he was very genuine in wanting to get to know me. There was like a presence where I knew he was listening and I knew he cared. Huge green light. Um, Another green light, and this isn't really something someone can necessarily like practice or do, but I'll name it anyway because it's something to be searching for. When I met Michael, he felt familiar. He felt like family already. He felt like I felt like, do I know this guy? There was just a familiarity and an ease. It was like, we must know each other already. I feel like I've known you my whole life. And there was something so deeply comforting about that. And we both felt it mutually and we talked about it. And it was a mutual green flag. We were like, this is good. We trust this.
Hell yeah. So again, the level of trust, the level of comfort, a level of almost like divine or spiritual familiarity of like, this can't be the first time we've done this type
Mhm.
energy. And above all that, like probably the foundation to all of that, the presence, the
Mm.
really being there. I would say I was actually just talking with Connor. earlier about the unattachment to outcome, right? You didn't get the sense that he wanted something from you. He just wanted you. He wanted to be with you. He wanted to connect with you, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Tell us if I mean if you're open to it, tell us a little bit more about like so you guys met in the Bay, shouts out, that's where I'm from. And then where do you go from there? So was he was also practicing polyamory. He had also been involved with these ISTA communities or what? Ultimately I'm baiting you to lead to your birthday party where our stories connected. So tell us a
Yeah.
little bit more about your story in the interim of like,
Yeah.
how did you knew from the jump that it was going to be good. What were some more steps along the way that was like, this guy is fucking awesome. Like I not just want to like spend time with him, but like I want to be in a relationship with this guy. This guy is going to be the primary.
Yeah. Yeah. So I had been living in the Bay Area for a year. Hi. Um, I had been living in the Bay Area for a year. I was living in Marin County. Michael and I were introduced by a mutual friend, which I will insert here. If if men want to meet beautiful, interesting women, one of the best ways to do that, that Michael really dialed in on, almost like accidentally in his life, is he became platonic friends with a lot of beautiful, interesting women. He had and still has so many women that he's platonic friends with, like strictly platonic, truly, that isn't trying to sleep with them, never slept with them. They're just people in our community that he's friends with. And because he's friends with them, they often lead him to the women that he dates. And this was the case. This is how we met. We had a mutual friend, our friend Leslie. I was at a entrepreneur mastermind in Telluride, Colorado, hanging with Leslie.
Classic you.
Yeah, we're like hanging in a hot tub. There's snow on the mountains, beautiful scenery, and we're talking about stuff and I'm sharing, about things that I'm interested in and wanting to get into. And she says, "Have you met Michael Ellsberg?" And I'm like, "No, I don't think so. I think I've heard of him. I recognize his name. He's an author." And she's like, "You have to meet this guy because you have a lot in common and I just sense there could be a connection. He's a good friend of mine," she says. And Leslie and Michael, completely platonic. They'd never been lovers. And so Leslie introduced us. We actually met on a Zoom call. And again, like instantly on that Zoom call, there was a connection. We were interested in each other. A few days later, we went on a hike. We got to know each other more. Our next date was at his place. He ordered sushi. We got in the hot tub. And, it all sort of unfolded from there. Um, Michael is not involved in ISTA trainings. That's not how we met. At the time, I was like, yeah, pretty knee deep in those trainings myself.
Yeah,
These
you were
these
super into it for a minute.
Yeah, and Michael had a background in kink. We were both coming from like two different sex positive communities. So that is there's a lot to learn there too. It's like if you want to meet sex positive women, if you want to meet women that are really sexually open, like immerse yourself in those communities. Like there are workshops happening everywhere and you don't necessarily have to go away for 7 days. You can go drop in for a couple of hours, go take something in kink, go take something in tantra. um, I think like there's like kind of a cool synergy between like tantra women and guys from like the kink BDSM scene. I think that's what happened sort of with me and Michael. There was like a convergence of like sex positive culture, and we had different things to teach each other from those two different subsects of the sex world. And then yeah, one of the things we really bonded on creatively was organizing and hosting sex positive events, which leads us to my birthday party that Kevin was a guest at.
That was the first time we met. So like going back, we're telling this story all out of order, but basically Emily was my hero on the internet, right? This was like COVID-19 had just started. Everybody in the world wants to be a coach. I'm like a little baby coach. Emily's experiencing great success on the internet already. I see her page. She's running a business called The Abundant Yogi. at the time. I see her page. I'm like, oh my God, this woman's beautiful. She's rich. She's got her shit together. Like, I want to be just like her. And lo and behold, we you were in a mastermind with Bastion, right? So like my mentor and Emily were in a mastermind together, so they knew each other, and I was able to connect with Emily through that. And then who you I came on your show first, right? You came on my show. We had old podcasts back in the day that you can't even find those files anymore. Good luck. But we both appeared on each other's podcasts, and it was just like this. It was just vibes right from the top. I was like, oh my God, I have so much reverence and respect for you as like not just somebody who's like I had previously put on a pedestal, which you always will be in my mind, but also somebody that I can just talk to face, eye to eye, and experience as a human. I was like, this woman's fucking amazing. And so then fast forward a little bit, we'll tell my little polyamory story here. She starts going to these ISTA things. She's like, Kevin, you got to try all this stuff. My whole mind is open up. The whole world is different now. I was like, yeah, got to follow in Emily's footsteps. Let's try it out. And so I started doing polyamorous relationships, did that for about a year-ish. Ultimately, it ended up blowing up in my face, but not in a negative way, in the same way that I always talk about how acid trips are not, you don't have a bad trip, you have repressed shit that's coming to the surface because you finally let it, right? These polyamorous relationships did not hurt me. They did not fuck up my life. They allowed stuff that I had going on beneath the surface to come to the surface, right? So ultimately, it was a beautiful experience, even though it hurt very badly. And the reason I put so much emphasis on this is to say, guys, like, you're gonna have moments where you get hurt. You're gonna have moments where you experience pain. Most of the time, it's a good thing. Like, if you're getting in addictive cycles, you keep making the same mistakes over and over, you keep self-sabotaging, that's different. But there's gonna be instances where you learn and grow massively from pain. So, anyways, fast forward a little more. Emily's birthday party. I was in Washington, so I was up here. We were just chatting. You're like, oh, by the way, like I'm having a birthday party down in the Bay. It's gonna be crazy. I was like, I'm there. And I flew down. I like visited the family for a little bit, and I came to this party. Emily is shorter than she seems. She seems like such a massive person. I mean, she has such a massive personality. You'd think she's a bigger person. She's actually very petite. So I walked up, I was like, oh my God, it's you. This is crazy. Gave her the biggest hug ever, felt like warmed and welcome and just like honestly, I spoke about this at the event. Like I had never felt more comfortable with people that I didn't know. I was there. I'll lay the preface and then you can talk more about it. I get to this place, there's like 40 people there. Everybody is like super, not even necessarily like into the woo, like super spiritual side, but like very comfortable with themselves. I had never seen like a healthier group of people, and I've been to like all sorts of diet and health events. So that's, some information. But yeah, I had never felt so comfortable in a room full of strangers. And I remember going around and everybody just like talking about like their intention for the evening and what they wanted and what they wanted to release, what they wanted to let go of, what they wanted to experience, all this kind of stuff. And it comes back to like those three T's. Like there was so much truth, trust, and transparency that it was just like, holy fuck, like we really all have complete freedom and permission in this moment to just be ourselves. And that was something that I had truly never experienced before in my life. So thank you so much for like, giving me an opportunity to experience that. And then everybody got naked and the real party started. And so that was also an amazing experience in and of itself. So please, if you tell us about the events that you throw, what you call them. I learned some terminology there around like the squish and stuff. Um, but yeah, before we get out of here, tell us about some of your experiences with hosting these parties, why you love it so much, and why it's, so
Mm,
important.
mm, yeah. Mm. Okay, well, I will start by saying that we have a term in my community that we use, which is temple. And
Mm,
the reason we call these events temples, there's a lot to say here. but I'll do my best to be succinct. Is that what we are really exploring together is sacred sexuality. It is a reclamation of the sacredness of sexuality, which, if you think about it, whether you identify as spiritual or not, you can't really argue that sexuality is deeply sacred. It is, again, it is where you come from, it is what created you. It is a force inside of all of us that truly drives us in life, right? And it is like, it is your eros, your erotic energy. Again, it is the force behind every attraction you've ever felt, every crush you've ever had, every significant romantic relationship you've ever had, every beautiful or awkward or silly lovemaking session that you've ever had. And again, it even comes down to what you feel when you see a beautiful flower. It's in nature, it's in animals, it's in humans, it's sacred. It's the stuff of life. And so, you know, our culture has largely disowned this sacredness and turned sex into a taboo, something that cannot be spoken about.
Mhm.
Your parents can't talk to you about it. Growing up, probably they didn't. It's starting to change now a bit in families. Um, your school didn't teach it.
Definitely not.
Yeah, your fifth grade sex ed class taught you anatomy only and prevention, condoms only, but never touched on the sacredness and never gave any input as to these, really core questions of like, why do I feel what I feel when I see a pretty girl, a pretty boy? Like these very these core issues of love and sexuality that are honestly take up so much space inside of us,
So
right?
much.
We never received any guidance. And so the temple, to bring it back to the birthday party and these sacred sexuality events that I host and organize and also attend a lot because so many of my friends and community members are also temple organizers. um, they are a place where we can come together in community and reclaim and celebrate and enjoy the sacredness of sexuality, a space of permission where all of you is welcome, a space of possibility where anything is possible but nothing is expected, right? You're safe to participate as you wish. Somebody new, such as Kevin, at that particular event, maybe didn't dive into the deep end, and that's perfectly fine because Temple is not a place where anyone is expected to um, participate beyond their comfort level
Nobody's
or
expected to perform.
to
You
perform.
get to be yourself. You don't
Yes.
have to be anything else.
Right. And sometimes part of being yourself looks like an experiment in like, how does it feel to be in my lingerie tonight? Or how does it feel to be totally naked tonight? Or how does it feel to keep my clothes on because that's what feels good to me, right? But maybe you spend the evening dancing sensually and, enjoying yourself on the dance floor, maybe alone, maybe with others. Maybe you spend your evening having a hot, sexy makeout with somebody you just met, or cuddling in the corner with your beloved, or full-blown sex with a group of friends. It's these temples are a space of permission, a space of sacredness and of radical self-expression, and they're truly beautiful, and it's much deeper than a sex party, and it's also a sex party. There's the punchline.
Hell yeah. Best birthday party ever. Thank you
Mhm.
so much for telling us about that. I wish we teased it even more for the beginning of the episode so that people were like, oh my God, I want to hear about the birthday party. But thank you for sharing it. Thank you for being here. Seriously. Like, I always value your time so much. There's always so much wonderful insight. It's always incredible to connect with you. I
Mm.
can't wait to see you again when Haley and I are back in the Bay. Any closing remarks before we get out of here for the men and the women of the world in dating and
Mm.
relationships and sex and love and sex?
Mm. My closing remark would be treat it all as research. You're dating, you're exploring events, workshops, meeting people, being in a program like yours, Kevin. It's all research. And when we treat it as research, when we view ourselves as researchers in love and sexuality, it actually starts to get a lot more interesting and fun, and you'll learn a lot. And so enjoy the journey.
A journey we shall enjoy. Thank you so much, Emily. It's wonderful to see you as always. Thanks for tuning in, guys. We'll see you next time. All right, so let's break this.